Right, so MiHoYo has announced the 2.4 update. I know I said this in 2.3, I know I said this in 2.2, I even said it in 2.1. I'm excited for this update, but you know what? Because this time, I'm going to be real with you, Chief. It does look exciting. The Jade Chamber's back, there's new skins for two characters that I genuinely love. So, yeah, it's going to be really good. And also, the Rerun banners are very fire this time, they're very spicy. We have, on the first half, we've got Shenhe and Yunjin, with Xiao as well. Xiao's the second ban, that's your other option if you don't want Shenhe or Yunjin. And then the second, half of the update, we're getting Ganyu and Zhongli, two characters that I use all the time, basically, so that's good. I might go for cons if I have any primos left over. But yeah, we're going to talk about these characters in this video, because, God, which one should you guys put on? Because it is a tough decision to make. I'm going to talk about, you know, the pros and cons of each character and how it could benefit you, depending on what characters you own. So, yeah, if you guys enjoyed today's video and you want to support me, you guys feel free to sub, because only 1% of people watch my videos are subscribed. And if you want to help out a homie, you know, you don't have to, but you can always feel free to sub. But let's get into it. So let's talk about, Shenhe and Xiao first. So Shenhe is a cryo support character that can basically deal additional cryo damage on top of your attacks, and also she will, with her burst, she will do consistent cryo damage, and she will also decrease the cryo res and physical res of nearby enemies. So, Shenhe is mainly played as a support, which doesn't mean she can't not be played as a DPS. She can probably be played as a DPS if you use her normal attacks, you know, with her, maybe do a bit of physical, have an electric character to proc superconduct. You can maybe run her as a physical DPS if you really wanted to. I might try that actually on release, because I feel like she could probably do that. You know, she could be pretty fun. You know, I'm going to be pulling for her personally, because I prefer her over Xiao. But, yeah, Shenhe is mainly a cryo support that will deal additional cryo damage alongside you, and will decrease the cryo and physical res of nearby, you know, enemies. Which is good if you have a Ganyu, maybe even Ayaka, or if you're running a physical damage dealer, maybe you could be running, I don't know, Eula. Razor would also work pretty well with her. I think you could even use Yan probably. There's a lot of other characters that this would work for. You know, mainly if you want to run, you know, cryo reactions, or you want to run, you know, physical damage dealers or cryo damage dealers. Overall, I'd say she could be a very solid support that could work in most teams. But yeah, you know, personally, I would say she is a pretty high pull, but I'd say wait for day one, wait to see, you know, what she's actually like, you know, try her out in the test run, see what other people are doing, you know, if you don't have that many primos and are on a budget. But yeah, I mean, personally, what I think right now, she's a pretty, solid pull. But let's get on to Xiao, because a lot of people have been waiting months for Xiao's rerun since 1.3. Trust me, every update I've seen, oh, when Xiao rerun coming? You know, even back in 1.6 I said, look, Xiao's been coming in 2.2, guys. I was wrong, okay? You don't need to tell me twice, but so, what is, gonna be, Xiao. So, Xiao is a Anemo DPS character that, with his burst, he converts his normal, plunging, and charging attacks into Anemo damage. Now, the thing that I find about Xiao is that, personally, I find this gameplay to be a bit clunky. However, in the right hands, in the right hands with somebody who will play a lot of Xiao, they will, use him really well. And he's one of the highest damage dealers in the entirety of Genshin Impact. So, personally, I'd recommend him if you, one, enjoy his gameplay. Like, if you find his gameplay, or consistent plunging attacks to be, to be fun, you enjoy doing it quite a lot, or you just like Xiao as a character, I would recommend pulling for him, honestly. Because he can do a lot of damage. However, there is one downside to him, and that is that he needs some decent energy regen, because he can't gain energy when he's in his burst. So that means getting energy out of his burst is quite troublesome sometimes. So, let's say you got someone like the Raiden Shogun, that would be perfect for Xiao. Or hell, you could even use Sucrose as a battery. You can use a lot of characters, to increase Xiao's energy regen, but, if Xiao has some good energy regen, yeah, you just beat everything, because Xiao is genuinely a really good character. He might not be for me, but he's definitely for some of you guys, So, I'd say, make make your pick between those two. Like, personally, if you need a damage dealer in Genshin Impact, for now, I'm gonna say Xiao, because I don't know, Shenhe's damage potential just yet. Because we've not seen her in-game yet, so... If you need a DPS character, like, if you're lacking on damage numbers in a lot of content in Genshin, I'd recommend Xiao because, he can also decrease, anima res as well. Actually, can he? No, I don't think he can. No, that's a lie. That's what Viridescent does. That decreases general elemental res, but... Xiao, overall, pretty good. Would recommend, need damage dealer, pick him. Need a support, pick Shenhe. Hopefully Shenhe might be a DPS. You might be able to be played as a DPS, and then if so, if you prefer Shenhe, go for Shenhe, but... Yeah, second half of the update, we got Ganyu and Zhongli. Now, this is going to be a hard one to talk about because I use both these characters day in and day out, and I would say that they're both just as good as each other, but they both have their different purposes, which is very dependent on what characters you have already. So, Ganyu, she can be a support, by the way, but I mainly use her as a charge attack DPS monster with a, well, recently I've been using a 4-piece, Wanderer's Troop set with her, but Ganyu has some of the highest damage ratios in the game for no inexplicable reason. To the point where literally, if I do a melt reaction on with her charge attack, I can do like easily like 75k damage if it crits. That's how much damage like my Ganyu's doing. Now that might not be very impressive given the fact that some characters burst do a lot more than that. Like Hu Tao for example, but remember that I'm doing this on a charge attack quite often, so yeah, Ganyu, very good. She can also be used as a burst as well, which her burst will also increase the cryo damage of nearby characters that are in her burst, so I mean, you could throw with Ayaka, maybe. You could throw with a character that does a lot of cryo damage, and you could also use use a support in that way because her supportive damage numbers are also very good, and it's also really good for cryo applications. So even if you're not using a cryo character for the bonus, you could be using a pyro character. Maybe you could be using, I don't know, Hu Tao. You could be using Diluc if you still use Diluc in 2021. Hell, you could even, I'm trying to think what, Yoimiya also works. I'm trying to think, there's so many pyro characters, how is it so hard for me to name a few, but yeah, if you've got a pyro character that you use consistently, Ganyu would also work with her pretty well, or them pretty well. And then you got Zhongli, which obviously, I would say, he's not as prominent as he used to be, right? Now, I know, quote-unquote theory crafters, not mentioning any specific names, say that Zhongli is completely useless because he lowers your DPS numbers in the Spiral Abyss, right? That's a big lie, because, I mean, listen, right? People might argue with you and say, look, but you're losing damage numbers. Zhongli gives you that survivability that you need, and he's a very, very safe DPS if you want him to be. He's not going to be doing the numbers he's not going to be doing some great numbers, but if you need a safe shielder to keep your team alive, you want a decent chunk of geo damage, and, hell, you can even use him as a normal attack, damager. He can do some decent, normal attack damage if you're building physically. I would recommend Zhongli for almost any content in the game. In fact, he makes most content in the game a lot easier, just because of how much damage he can absorb with his shield, right? So if you find yourself, needing a shielder, or you're taking too much damage, and you don't have a shield character that you want to use, I'd really recommend Zhongli over anyone else because of his, basic, because of his shielding, prowess. Now, listen, I know recently with the, I think it's Tsurumi Islands that Mahoya added that does that. I don't know what the island's called because I've not explored it yet. There was an island with mobs that will basically, essentially penetrate through your shield. Now, I know that's, I know trying to make shield users less prominent because, for the longest time, shields were just, better than healing. Yeah, even without that, shielding is still a major part of the game right now, and I would honestly recommend Zhongli over anyone else in this update because of how good he is at his job at keeping your team alive. However, that being said, if you stay alive a lot and you don't need a shield, you don't need to pull for him. But in order, of characters that I would recommend first, I would honestly say, the second half of the update is a very tough choice. I'm gonna pick, Zhongli over Ganyu if you don't have. So let's assume that you have none of these characters at all. If you don't have any of these characters, Zhongli over Ganyu, right? And for the first half, for the first half of the update, like, assuming you don't have any, assuming that you don't have Xiao already, I would recommend Shenhe if you don't have, any supports, or many supports that you enjoy using. And if you don't have any damage dealers, I'd recommend Xiao. Now, if you have to pick one character in the entire update which you have to pull, because again, not everyone has a lot of primos, because free to plays, they don't get much. Rip to the fallen, but if we're assuming that, then I would say the best character that you could ever have on a free to play account, it would probably maybe be Ganyu or Zhongli. Because again, you don't have that many characters probably if you're a very very new or a free-to-play character player who hasn't pulled very much, luckily. So if you assume you don't have many characters on your account, Zhongli and Ganyu, they're all you need really. They are actually everything that you need, and then and that's all you need for the rest of the game. But yeah, let me know down below what you guys think about this, because who are you guys pulling for on the 2.4 update, or are you skipping? Like, if you're skipping, honestly, fair enough. That's off to you. In 2.5, we're probably getting ISO, we're probably getting Yamiko. You didn't hear that from me though. But yeah, hope you're having a great day, everyone. Take care. Let me know who you're pulling for down below. If you comment, I'll try and answer as many as I can. I need to answer more comments, so if you comment anything or have any questions, I'll try my hardest to answer them if I have time during the day. But yeah, hope you're having a great day, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you guys in another video really soon. Probably tomorrow, talking about the characters on the banners. But yeah, see you all later. Goodbye.